Millie Weaver reporting for Infowars.com. We are here outside of Columbine High School, the high school which many know about and still have memories of, where the horrific active shooting tragedy happened here about 2 decades ago. Now, we're also right alongside the Columbine Memorial down here, which we will walk you guys through momentarily, but we're going to be a little bit quiet so that we can be respectful to those who are there, laying their mementos for their loved ones. So, here's what's going on, guys. We just had the Florida shooting, the Parkland shooting, which was absolutely horrific. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shooting in Florida, where we had an active shooter down there, which, there's a lot of suspicious stuff surrounding the whole thing, but we definitely do believe that a shooting happened and that many lives were lost. 17 young people and teachers died in this shooting. Now, what's really a tragedy is that we have Democrats that are using and exploiting a tragedy like this to push their political agenda, to push for anti-gun legislation. That's right, more gun control. We know it. Every time there's one of these shooting tragedies, we all sigh, we are sad, we cry, many of us, we send prayers, but we also know what's coming next. Democrats pushing for more gun control laws. And what's sad about the whole situation is that gun control laws are not a valid solution. And we know this. But here's why we're out here at Columbine High School. Colorado has already started taking some steps to arm teachers and staff to prevent a Columbine-like tragedy. Now, Columbine, after that happened, the FBI started making new changes to how they would respond to active shooters before they would essentially surround a school and work their way into the perimeter, clearing each room. And that's what they did here at Columbine High School. But it actually led to more deaths because the police took about 47 minutes to get in there and stop the shooters. Now, 47 minutes, a lot of tragedy, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of death can happen in 47 minutes. We all know that. And they say that the active shooter situations, the average shooter situation, typically lasts for about 12 minutes. 12 minutes. So if it takes police, with Columbine 47 minutes to get there, 12 minutes, that's the average time of a shooting. Now, after Columbine happened, they changed a lot of their ways that they respond to active shooters. So the way it was then is very different to how it is now. But even at the Parkland, Florida shooting, it took police a while to respond. And they did go directly in to try to find the shooter. But here's what's interesting, guys. This new implementation of teachers and staff members and school security officers being able to have guns and concealed carry training classes would allow them to neutralize an active shooter very quickly. It would prevent tons of death that would happen if you were to wait for police. You call police, it's going to take them anywhere between at least minimal, if you're lucky, if there's a police so happening to be in the area, maybe 5 minutes, but really and truly, most police are going to take at least 15 minutes to get there. And like I said, the active shooter situations on average last for 12 minutes. So police cannot actually fully prevent these shooting situations here. Now, Democrats say, oh, well, then we need to just get rid of guns and start putting in more gun control measures to prevent, people from getting guns or prevent mentally ill people from getting guns. Well, that's going to have a lot of holes in it too. And how are you going to be able to catch that this person is mentally ill in time to even put them on a list to keep them from getting a gun? So it's not valid. There were plenty of signs with this shooter. There were plenty. The whole school pretty much knew that, okay, this guy has mental health problems. He's made threats. Even the teachers say that this guy had, been banned from having a backpack on campus because they were worried about him bringing a gun on campus. If there could be all of these signs and yet nothing was done to, try to even get this person mental health, he would, it's not really going to even help if you were to try to put gun control laws that say, oh, well, people with certain mental illnesses or problems can't have guns, which, a lot of gun laws already put stuff in there like that. So, like I'm saying, guys, the real solution here, which many of us know, is that we need to have teachers armed. We need to have staff armed. So let's walk around here, and we're going to go down here, make our way to the memorial site just to show you guys the Columbine High School Memorial. And, it's a tragedy. It's terrifying. I know a lot of parents these days are worrying when they send their children to school if they're going to have another shooting event, or, when you're out in a mall or a movie theater. So here's what Colorado has been doing. Several school districts in Colorado have started programs such as FASTER. FASTER is a program that has been training teachers and staff in responding to an active shooter faster than a police officer would be able to, or SWAT would be able to respond to the situation. So these teachers are essentially required to every month go in and go to the shooting range and practice with at least 100 bullets. And that keeps the teachers up on their game, on targeting. And there are several other training programs that go along with this FASTER training program that will keep the teachers up to date on the latest measures. Now, here's something that's interesting. Now, some are reporting that this shooter had been present at many of the school's drills that were happening. And so because the fact that the student was present at the drills, he was aware of how to take advantage of the weaknesses in the drill. So they say that he started the shooting around 2:35 p.m., right when he knew, about a couple minutes before the bell would ring, and that he actually pulled the fire alarm, which would naturally get students to go outside of the classrooms and go out into the lawn, which most kids would do during a fire drill. So it actually made it so that the teachers had a harder time keeping their classrooms controlled and locked in. So he knew the drill, he knew how everything went down, he knew the weak points, and he knew how to exploit those weak points. But if those teachers in Florida had been trained and had concealed carry permits, they could have neutralized the shooter before he was able to commit so much bloodshed. So we're going to keep walking here, guys. I just want to show you, we're here in Colorado at Columbine High School. For those of you guys who are just now jumping onto this feed right now, we've got the beautiful Rocky Mountains out here, and we're making our way into the Columbine Memorial, which we're going to kind of whisper and be very reverent and respectful while we're there down in the memorial. But really what this is about is Coloradans were shocked when the Columbine tragedy happened. There really wasn't such an idea as an active shooter or a school shooting before Columbine. Once that happened, it completely changed how the FBI would respond to active shooter-like scenarios. And we've seen more and more and more these days, which, many do believe that some of these are false flags, and that, by false flag, that doesn't necessarily mean that people believe that, the shootings didn't happen or that people didn't die. What many believe is that, pieces in the storylines don't add up, or that maybe the FBI or certain elements of the deep state are responsible for some of these shootings. All right, here we are, guys. We're here at the Columbine Memorial, where, a lot of people are being memorialized after having lost their lives during the Columbine shooting. And I'm sure we will see a Parkland memorial for the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School students and teachers that were killed. This says, on April 20th, 1999, in a senseless act of violence, 12 students and 1 teacher were killed and many others injured at Columbine High School. It was a tragic event that shook the Columbine and Metro Denver communities, horrified and saddened the nation, and changed forever our perceptions of the safety and security within a school typical of so many across America. Over time, Columbine parents, students, faculty, and community leaders designed and constructed this Columbine Memorial to remember those killed and injured that day and honor their lives. This memorial is dedicated to those innocent victims so that they are never forgotten. So let's go in there and check out this memorial. So basically, guys, Democrats love to jump out and exploit a tragedy with their anti-gun, gun control measures and laws that they want to enact, essentially restricting the Second Amendment. And they use and exploit these tragedies that mostly happen from people who are suffering from mental illness and, yes, prescription drug use. Many of these shooters, many of these people have been known to be on psychotropic drugs and prescription drugs prior to or while committing these acts of violence. So the bottom line is the Democrats want to exploit these tragedies to push for gun control, but that's really not that's really not even a solution. Gun control is not going to solve the problem because we all know criminals can get their hands on guns. It doesn't matter. And in order to even be with what the many of these liberals and Democrats are saying, they would like to see people with mental health illnesses not be able to get guns. There needs to be like a faster reporting system, which we already know that there are already some gun regulations that prevent people who have committed violent crimes, felonies, and other things from obtaining firearms or keeping firearms. So there already are some of these things, but does that stop criminals from getting their hands on guns? No, absolutely not. It doesn't. It doesn't prevent these tragedies from happening. And if somebody really wants to commit harm and hurt others, they will find a way. It doesn't have to be a gun. It doesn't have to. It can be bombs. It can be knives. It could be trucks. We've seen many people mow down people on the side of the road with trucks. There are many ways that people can carry out senseless acts of violence. But the reality is that when our nation is going through this and we're seeing so many people be desensitized to violence, we have to wonder what's going on. Is it the psychotropic drugs? Is it the large amount of prescription drug use that we're seeing? You know, bottom line is there's always going to be criminals and crazy people out there that can get their hands on guns. And outlawing it and making it so that law-abiding citizens can't have their own guns to protect themselves is 100% not the solution. I know it sounds like I'm preaching to the choir, guys, because many of you guys out there know this. It's common sense. But I'm saying it to those out there who might not. And so what I will say is this. Colorado has the answer. Not all the schools in Colorado are doing this, not all school districts, but we have a handful of school districts that have been already implementing teachers and staff members in these programs where they can have concealed carry permits, have their own firearm on them while at the school in class with children, and they are being trained to neutralize a threat. That's what you have to have, given that most of these active shooter situations last for about 12 minutes, and the police, the SWAT, do not have enough time to get there within that first phone call and stop and neutralize a shooter. That's why we have such large body counts in these types of situations. It's because the shooters target these no-gun zones. It's like they know that there's not going to be anyone armed there. They target it, and then there's massive casualty because you don't have an armed teacher that can go and neutralize the threat. So certain schools, such as Fleming, the city of Fleming has already implemented teachers having guns. The city of Briggsdale in Colorado, there are many districts already voting on it. In fact, there was a district just recently in Colorado that voted on it just this last month on the 26th of January, and they voted 1-4 no. So that means four educational board members voted no to make it so that the teachers could not have guns in their district to protect their students. Now, most of the schools in Colorado that have started implementing this gun, I guess you could say teacher policy, it's called FASTER, where the teachers are arming themselves, are in rural cities. Because many of these rural cities, the police station is about 20 minutes from them. So when you have rural cities, towns actually, most of these are so small, they're towns. When you have rural towns in Colorado where the police station is 20 minutes from their high school, it's not realistic to think that, if a shooting situation happens at that school, that the police are going to be able to respond there anytime soon enough to even neutralize the threat before he or she goes on a rampage and kills nearly everyone in the school. So many of the rural areas have made this argument that because they don't have police close enough, this is why teachers need to be armed, so that they can take their safety into their own hands and that of their children's. But some districts that have voted on this measure, they have already denied it based on parents and some teachers worrying that, the psychological and social ramifications of the students, feeling weird about teachers having guns would be too big of a problem. So essentially, they're more worried about the emotional or social interaction that these students might have by feeling weird about their teacher having a gun than they are actually worried about protecting the lives of students if there were to be a Parkland shooting at their school. Every school thinks it would never be them. Everyone always thinks it'll never happen to me, but when it does, make sure you yourself are armed. And like I said, arming yourself is the solution. And we don't just have to talk about schools here. We have these shootings happening at movie theaters, malls, out at public events. And it doesn't even have to be a shooting. It could be somebody getting in a truck and driving into people, somebody with a knife. But if you have your own, gun, your own way of protecting yourself, you can actually be a hero and neutralize that threat. Don't just be a victim. So this is Millie Weaver. One more time, guys. I am going to tell you guys who are just here. We're at the Columbine Memorial and out here in Colorado to talk about how we need real solutions to these type of shootings, not these solutions that Democrats put forward that aren't real solutions, such as gun control. The solution, really simple, guys. Colorado has it. They've already been implementing it. Get teachers to have guns, get them trained, train teachers to neutralize threats, and that really is the solution, guys. Well, I will say this. Please support us. Please share this message. Share the links, guys, because we are being censored. We are being hit. The globalists, the establishment, they do not want us sharing this message out there. So please go to our store, infowarsstore.com. Support us. Share the links. Share the articles. This is Millie Weaver signing off for Infowars.com.